It's Review of Raw. I'm John Pollock along with Wei Ting, where today we are going to be going through Raw from Monday night in beautiful Baltimore, Maryland.
How do you know it's beautiful?
I hear things.
Who do you hear that from?
Orioles fans.
Do they say that?
I don't know.
I'll believe it.
I've never been to Baltimore, so I'm going to take their word for it. I guess it's a city that hasn't been on my bucket list yet, so
Okay.
that's all.
I guess if it's your hometown, you're going to think it's beautiful in some ways.
Well, you're biased. You
Yeah.
can only go off of outsiders' perspectives on how your city really does rank amongst the world's best.
Yeah.
So Baltimore.
Would you have said beautiful if it was like Detroit?
No, because that's not alliteration.
Okay. Would you have said like delightful or?
Perhaps. I don't associate delightful with
Disgusting.
Detroit. Detroit's feels like a hard city. I don't know if
Dirty.
they want to be called delightful.
Okay.
Baltimore, Maryland. We started off with Mick Foley out in the ring to start the show and plug Clash of Champions, saying that their competitors had a great show last night and crowned a number of new champions, hearkening back to the old days when Eric Bischoff would come out and congratulate the WWF on a fine In Your House event.
I understand, but at the same time, it's never going to be like it was the Monday Night Wars.
Wait a minute, but last week we had to hear Michael Cole after every break take shots at SmackDown saying, yeah, but the real show is here. I mean, which is it?
Okay, fine. I guess he could have.
I really don't care.
Okay, let's move on.
That's it. He also thanks or congratulates his friend, Becky Lynch, but feel that they still offer the premier women's wrestling. And they bring out Charlotte, and they recap Bayley's win from last week, and then Charlotte slapping Dana, and then Dana trying to jump Sasha last week and was very unsuccessful in her attempt. Charlotte wants an apology, and Dana assumes that she is going to receive an apology from Charlotte, but instead Charlotte expects an apology from Dana, stating it was her fault for the loss to Bayley, and she wants the record book to be rewritten to show a loss by Dana and not her, which is not how record books work. And says that Dana is not supposed to think for herself and that their mentorship is over. And Dana apologizes to Charlotte, and Foley says that every Raw title is going to be defended at Clash of Champions when Sasha comes out, stating she's going to take the title back at the pay-per-view. And then out comes Bayley, who I think it's worth noting, I think got a bigger reaction than Sasha coming out.
Yeah.
And Bayley plays the innocent rookie on the roster who doesn't want to cause trouble, but just pointing out that she beat Charlotte and maybe she should get the title match. And Sasha says that there are no friends when it comes to this title, tosses her jacket at Charlotte, and Charlotte had this terrible line about Bayley being a fangirl and this being WWE camp, mixing up the words.
She probably should have just said NXT.
My new pet peeve is the forcing of these network shows into promos. Like it's just casual speak.
Oh, you mean like she was referencing Camp WWE?
She was meaning to say Camp WWE.
Bayley's not even on that, though.
I think she was just throwing out a name.
I think she just probably meant to say Camp in a general sense. Because that TV show is like...
Well, she called it WWE Camp.
I know, because
Who cares?
Okay.
But it could be either one.
Yeah.
I'm just so tired of all these show names being thrown at us.
I just didn't think this was a case of that, because
It's literally in the script that talent is encouraged to find unique ways to promote shows on the network.
Right.
And Dana then suggests another best of 7 series, and Charlotte threatens to slap Dana with this suggestion. Foley then announces it'll be Sasha against Bayley with the winner facing Charlotte at Clash of Champions. Charlotte blames Dana for Foley's decision, and Dana gets so mad she slaps Charlotte. And the crowd chants yes, and then Foley puts Dana in the match, and it is a 3-way match for the championship opportunity.
Yeah. I thought Charlotte was great playing the bully against Dana. I think her confidence and her smoothness on camera has really opened up in the past several months, and I thought she did a great job heating up Dana here. I do, however... I thought Dana got a great reaction, as a result, but I feel like they were almost kind of rushing that story a little too soon. I feel like if you just kind of built it up a little bit before the actual slap, I feel like that should be a big moment, rather than going back and forth, which is kind of what it looks like we're doing now with those two.
I actually thought that they may just speed it up and Dana would fluke her way into this win, and it allows Bayley and Sasha to have the match at Clash of Champions, and the winner gets Charlotte at the next one, which is Hell in a Cell, which would be a bit. You figure there will be a women's title match at that pay-per-view,
right?
And
but then what do you do
doing
with
something
Dana?
big.
What do you do with Dana after that?
You beat Dana.
Yeah, what does she do after that?
After Clash of Champions,
Yeah.
she finds a new mentor, maybe.
I mean, it sounds like they probably want to build that up even a little longer. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking after this.
So the three-way match began. Sasha is kicked off the apron to the floor, and then Bayley attacks Dana. And we cut away to the announcers because before the match, Charlotte joined the commentary team, and we came back, of course, with the backs towards the ring. But then later in the match, they showed the opposite angle where they are now facing the ring, which I think that can be the angle we always go to at the announcers, so they don't have to be turning around.
Definitely not during a match. I think to start a segment when there's no match going on in the ring, it's fine. They haven't done it since that first time.
Bayley and Sasha double-teamed Dana. They sent her to the floor, and then they went through a break. Sasha went for the double knees and then used a head scissors to place Bayley underneath Dana, but Bayley got out of the way, and Sasha hit the double knees to Dana. They did a Tower of Doom spot with Sasha sending them off the turnbuckle, identified by Michael Cole as a superplex.
Sure.
Super.
Yeah.
Dana avoids a backstabber and then hits it on the second try, putting the bank statement on. Bayley breaks that up. Crowd very much got into that near finish. Hits a belly to Bayley to Dana, and then Sasha goes for this jackknife cover and goes over. Both their shoulders are down, which I thought was going to be the intended finish, but instead it was just counted 3, and Sasha was announced as the winner.
Me too. I thought for sure they were going for the double pin.
And I thought they pulled it off really well.
Yeah, I looked at Sasha and I was like, wow, she really pulled that double pin off really well. But then announcers never made mention of it. You know, they showed the replay. It looked like her shoulders were actually down.
Yeah.
It was actually perfect to set up a three-way. But they treated it like it was just a regular win for Sasha, which is really strange to me. I wonder if they'll make mention of it next week. But it's strange that you don't do it. You would do it next week. Like, here's the thing. I feel like seeing this, they weren't supposed to both have their shoulders down, but now they're going to get so much reaction online from people complaining that Sasha's shoulders were actually down during that pin that they're going to have to address it next week.
Well, I guess they can say it was not an offensive maneuver by Bayley, and Sasha was therefore not being pinned.
But like in the figure 4, you know, guy gets counted.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know. This is weird.
Think of what they did in these 7 days, where last week we had Charlotte lose, not clean, but pretty much so, to Bayley. Later in the show, we announced Sasha is going to get the title match, and we come out of the show with Charlotte against Sasha. And then that was taken off the website later on in the weekend to set up this segment to where Sasha gets her title shot and is still facing Charlotte.
It's kind of strange to me, and I think a lot of it has to do with them not realizing, you know, how long it would take Sasha to get better. But I feel like with Sasha gone, Bayley was actually gaining a ton of momentum, and to me seemed like the better contender, at least right now. I feel like Sasha, she didn't have a great week last week, and I think she could actually use some retooling while Bayley gets that spotlight this month.
And to further the other story, I thought it was a natural you would have whoever you're going with, this being Sasha, pinning Dana, and it's Dana that ends up being the one that takes the fall to further that with Charlotte and her frustration with Dana. Instead, They beat Bayley for the first time. Each and every week, it's your chance to win a t-shirt from ProWrestlingTees.com. Simply answer the trivia question and tweet @LawRadio for your chance to win each and every Thursday. They mentioned Cesaro's win over Sheamus in London from last week, and then Dana's backstage apologizing to Charlotte, and Charlotte tells her to shut up and get her bags. I do like these two. They have come a long way of getting sympathy on Dana.
Yeah, and I think you can really credit Dana's been doing a good job too, but you really have to credit Charlotte just for really finding herself, I think, in this role. But them kind of going back and forth, I'm not as big of a fan of. I feel like if somebody turns, they should turn for good. But, you know, I guess they'll keep heating it up.
The Shining Stars are talking to a mystery person off camera about selling them a timeshare in Puerto Rico, and the person puts the brochure down and reveals it is R-Truth, which is usually a pretty easy pop of just the reveal of the mystery person. Crickets, as we revealed it was R-Truth talking to the Shining Stars. We got a Ricky Martin reference here, and they're trying to get a payment out of R-Truth.
They referenced, so I guess they referenced every like Puerto Rican star that is known in North America, and that included J-Lo, Eva Longoria, is that who they said?
It was Sofia Vergara.
And Ricky Martin. Like, is Ricky Martin still relevant? Are those still like really the best Puerto Rico has to offer in 2016?
Well, for a company so entrenched in the Attitude Era, Ricky Martin is a celebrity still.
Like, I feel like they could have come up with more current references.
Goldust comes and saves R-Truth and takes him away. And then we turn around and the camera's in the chest of Cass and it has to zoom out to show him, which I thought was a creative way to emphasize his size.
Sure.
And Enzo is with him. Cass calls them cheating con men, and Enzo brings up how they grabbed the tights last week, and we get a challenge for tonight, and Enzo is going to go learn Spanglish. Tom Phillips welcomed in Kevin Owens, and I instantly perked up. These are amongst my favorite people to watch.
Have you seen behind-the-scenes photos of Tom Phillips in these segments?
No.
There's like a big thing online, like they call it the Tom-spiracy or something, and it's Tom Phillips' constant changing of his height.
Oh, I have heard of these, yes.
And, he always just kind of, people have like compared him standing next to Kevin Owens or standing next to, Seth Rollins, and he always seems different in height. And what he's doing, there have been shot photos of him behind the scenes where he's spreading his legs to make himself appear shorter than whoever he's talking to.
It's like what they do in the UFC, like where we saw over the weekend when Megan O'Leary was doing those interviews for Fox Sports, and when Travis Brown came, they had a box for her to stand on.
An Apple box, yeah.
Because Travis Brown is very tall and she is not.
See, I don't know why they would do that though in the UFC. Because don't you want to emphasize that your heavyweights are? Don't you want to do the wrestling thing of emphasizing your heavyweights?
It was the opposite of what they would do with Vince and Andre, where you put the interviewer on the box. Yeah, exactly. You want to emphasize that size. So anyway, Tom Phillips, who is called Tyler and Terry throughout this interview, says that, what is it you want, Tom? Do you want me to, Tyler, do you want me to say things like Triple H realized that I was better than Rollins and that Reigns doesn't belong in the ring with me, or that Foley is stacking the deck against me because he realized that he was never at the level of his mentor, Triple H? No, I'm not going to say any of those things. But he will beat Reigns tonight, and then he's going to beat Rollins at Clash of Champions. And as Owens leaves, in walks Chris Jericho, who, in a nod to CM Punk, referred to Tom Phillips as a hack journalist, which was the accusation that Punk made last week about all the people who were asking about how the Ohio Commission waived the certain standards for a professional fighter to fight in the state. And Punk called them hack journalists.
Did you take? Oh, you weren't one of these journalists.
I don't know if he was referring to me or not. I did write about it. And Jericho says he will have Sami Zayn on the highlight reel tonight and is going to show people the real Sami Zayn, and he asks Tom what Sami Zayn is. And Tom goes to say, stupid, and he cuts him off and says, no, he's a stupid idiot. I thought this was so clever. Yeah. This was maybe my favorite Chris Jericho night in a long time, and he's been on fire of late, and tonight was, I thought, outstanding stuff from him. Bo Dallas. Did you see his video that dropped today?
No.
TMZ got footage of his arrest at the airport.
Oh, wow.
And this dude was in a different time zone when these officers, he was just incoherent. But one thing is for certain, that if you are going to get arrested at an airport in public, be cooperative, because you might get a push out of it, which is what Bo is receiving here. He came out and he rattled off this poem stating that he is the only one who can believe in Bo, as he took on Brandon Scott. And Scott sent Dallas to the floor and then went for a splash in the ring, was caught into a power slam. The crowd was chanting, "Let's go Jobber," which Cole acknowledged that the chants are for Dallas's opponent, because I guess we do have to differentiate the two. And then Dallas hit a pair of gutbusters and the roll of the dice for the win in a minute 13.
I don't know what the thinking was here with Bo Dallas's retooling, because there really isn't much of a retooling aside from a new Titantron, new tights, and but he's the same character with the same catchphrase, essentially. He's more aggressive in the ring, but the fans are not buying into it at all.
Maybe he should adopt like the more adult version of like the Adam Rose party character, where this is a guy who parties on the road and he lives the life of this wrestler who's just a mess on the road and he's trying to get his life together. His character, that is.
Like the after, like the wrestler.
Like play out this guy like you thought that airport scene was rough. This guy's got to make towns and he's struggling.
It's a little complex.
We need some a darker look at this. These wrestlers that are on the road.
Sure.
Maybe that's the way we go.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with this. I think it kind of weakens the whole jobber match too. That's been, I think, so successful with Braun Strowman.
Yeah, no Braun on this show at all. Chris Jericho came out for a very entertaining highlight reel. He says this was supposed to be the greatest highlight reel ever with a man that could be played by Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt, that being his best friend Kevin Owens, but instead Foley put Owens in a match, even though this was announced 7 days ago. So that means Jericho had booked this highlight reel more than a week ago. And then the match that was announced at the end of Raw screwed this up for him. So booking in advance, a true podcast host is Chris Jericho. And he states that how do you go from someone at the very tippy top of the mountain? You go the complete opposite direction and get someone from the bottom. And as he's explaining this, he lies down onto the rug in the ring and speaks into the microphone, welcoming out Sami Zayn. I found this hysterical. Zayn comes out, and Jericho says that Zayn doesn't even have Kevin Owens' new phone number. But he does, which was a nice way of showcasing his phone, which would later be a big part of this segment. And he wants to know how Zayn blew his friendship with Owens, because the problem clearly wasn't Owens, it was Zayn. He calls Zayn a taker, Jericho's a giver. And Zayn says that the gift of Jericho sucks. And Zayn says that one day he will show Jericho his true colors, that being Owens, because Owens only cares about himself. Jericho thinks he's jealous. Zayn says that he and Owens traveled the world because of people like Jericho and Dean Malenko and Eddie Guerrero, puts over all of Jericho's accolades, but says now he's being reduced to being Kevin Owens' bitch. And then Jericho is very upset at this, and he says, you know what? I got a text from Kevin who told me what to expect tonight from you. Do you want to know what it says? And he pulled back out his phone and he blasted Sami Zayn in the face with it. And down goes Zayn. He took a code breaker, and the only thing that could have made this worse was if it was a Samsung Galaxy Note 7, which has been recalled because it explodes.
Yeah.
But this was an explosive segment. I thought this was great. I really enjoyed this segment.
Yeah, very good segment. I thought both guys were great, and Jericho especially. Like you said, I think he's...
I love this character of Jericho.
Yeah, he's done something really, really good about this current version of him as a heel. And I thought Sami Zayn, again, anytime he's given a role to just come out and talk, he constantly impresses me because he just sounds very confident and smooth on camera. And, it's disappointing that he's not given bigger roles. Perhaps this is a change towards that direction.
Like, they are doing such a great job with Owens and Jericho that when they ever do that turn where Owens turns on Jericho, there will be so much sympathy for Chris Jericho because they have been so great. You truly believe these are best friends.
Yep.
And it will mean so much when Owens turns out to prove all of Sami Zayn's warnings correct.
Yeah.
And that, to me, easily headlines a pay-per-view for the title.
Yep. The podcast was great this past week, too.
Yeah. You and I listened to it on the way to Cleveland. It was a very entertaining show. This coming Friday on Review Away, it's the 7th anniversary edition of Review Away. Wei Ting and I will sit down and watch the Heroes of Wrestling pay-per-view in real time, so you can watch the pay-per-view along with us, the infamous classic from October of 1998. You've got 21, we've got 22 reasons why you should catch the 7th anniversary of Review Away. Cesaro and Sheamus in match number 5 of the Best of 7 series. Sheamus cut a promo stating that after his loss last week, even a blind monkey can find a banana, and he just needs one more win and he wins it. Cesaro now has both his shoulder and lower back taped, And Cole notes the back injury Cesaro's dealing with and having to fly overseas over the last week, which will mess up your back.
Yeah, it's
so
true.
Some attention to detail. Sheamus blocked a sharpshooter and rolled to the floor. Cesaro then hit a running seated senton from the apron to the floor. We came back from a break, and there was a San Martino-style backbreaker applied by Sheamus. Cesaro got out, hit a high cross from the top, and in doing so, avoided hitting him with the bad shoulder. He, angled it away. Sheamus then caught him, hit a rolling fireman's carry. The cloverleaf was turned into a small package for a 2 count, and then Cesaro hit a spinning uppercut, went for the neutralizer, but his back gives out. He did a roll through into the sharpshooter, got to the rope, and then as Cesaro kicked out of the Irish Curse, he was lifted up for a splash mountain, and Cesaro avoided it, rolled up Sheamus, and he used the bottom rope for leverage and pinned Sheamus. The series is now 3-2. I think that the series will be tied next week before Night of Champions.
Oh, you think so?
I think it should culminate at Night of Champions, Clash of Champions.
Yeah, a fine match like all their other ones, but the outcome, I think, was just a little too predictable. And the match now, if you include Cesaro's, 2 previous matches prior to the best of 7, this is the 7th time he's doing this, man. It's a little too stale for me now to be.
He won the series tonight, the unofficial series.
Sure, but I mean, I don't think they're showing enough variety in these matches, whether it be with stipulations or just with new style of match to keep me interested in this for 2 more matches. It's just overkill.
Vale Tudo match at Clash of Champions.
Oh, okay, MMA match, sure.
Yeah.
How about Brawl for All rules?
Oh, I don't know if we're ready for that to come back yet. Cesaro's already injured. I mean, that's the legacy of the Brawl for All.
It should be the finals.
Seth Rollins walked into Mick Foley's office and he asks why Roman Reigns is getting a chance to be in the main event at Clash of Champions. Foley says that both of them were wronged, Reigns and Rollins. And Rollins casually tells him, why don't you go binge watch my stuff on the WWE Network to see what I've done? Foley says that Stephanie is not here tonight. She is speaking at a conference in Singapore, and that Foley, Rollins accuses, is in the pocket of Stephanie. And Foley snaps. He says, you can make fun of how I look, my shirt, my in-ring skills, but do not question my integrity. And he tells Rollins, do not interfere in the main event tonight. And Rollins says, okay, I will not question your integrity, but if you continue with your support of Stephanie, you are a fool, Mick Foley. They announced Sami Zayn and Chris Jericho for Clash of Champions.
Yeah, sorry, before we move on. This was Seth Rollins, I felt, totally playing his heel character again. And I know last week I felt I was complimenting him because he didn't drastically turn babyface. Not that I think he should, but I feel like you should at least, go 50% of your way there. And tonight I just felt like he was playing the same dick that he was before, doing that cocky smirk and laugh and arguing against Foley. I just really felt no desire to cheer him like I did last week, coming off of that angle from that match.
What they wanted to do tonight with Seth Rollins and have that conflict with the authority figure, it was much better suited for Stephanie to be in that role, where by default, I think the audience more sides with Seth Rollins. But when you're with Foley, I mean, that is a very beloved character. Mm-hmm. And you're right, Seth Rollins did come off very much so in that heel spot.
I got no sense of him as the victim that was wronged, like I did last week in this segment. In this segment, and even in the main event, he just feels like he was a guy threatening Mick.
Tom Phillips is with Nia Jax backstage, and amazingly, they replayed that segment from last week with Alicia Fox, which I didn't complain about because I loved watching this a second and third and fourth and fifth time. Mm-hmm. Calls Alicia Fox a wacko, and she doesn't do crazy, and will beat the crap out of her. So we got Nia Jax and Alicia Fox. Fox is driven into the corner. They go to the floor, and she leaps onto the back of Jax and then is sent into the post. Jax then just throws her repeatedly into the barricade and finally spears her through the barricade at the timekeeper's table, and the officials check on Alicia. The match never concludes. It's a non-finish, and in the background was a sign that read, Roman Reigns killed Harambe.
Oh, okay.
The gorilla.
Yeah, I got that one.
That sign was the most entertaining part for me of this, other than the fact that this will be a program that continues, I assume, with Nia Jax and Alicia Fox.
In terms of aggression, I feel like this was probably Nia's best outing, and that includes a lot of the jobber matches that I think she had. Maybe for one thing, it's because she didn't have to execute her finisher this week, so she didn't have to make up her mind which version of it she was going to use. But, the barricade spot they gave her was nice, got a good reaction. However, she can only rely on bells and whistles for so long. And, they're eventually going to have a match, these two, probably next week, and I don't know. I don't know how they're going to deal with it.
This match, given these two characters and their names, felt very TNA inspired because of both ending in the letter X, which is the favorite letter in TNA. Beyond the X division, we've got such luminaries as Aaron Rex, Baron Dax, Braxton Sutter. Every name's got to have X in it, and that's what I thought of with Alicia Fox and Nia Jax.
You ever think about changing your name to John Pollux?
Oh, I could.
LOX?
Yeah. Instead of the CK, just put an X at the end.
Extreme.
Pollux.
Yeah.
You can check out The Law's YouTube channel at youtube.com/liveaudiowrestling. Subscribe for all of your free videos, including Ask Away, interviews, and much more. New Day comes out, and they are facing Anderson and Gallows at Clash of Champions. Big E is not wearing his ring boots to showcase his New Day socks. Wood says that last week
New Day socks, that's great.
Yeah, very clever. They state that last week Anderson and Gallows tried their hand at entertainment and said entertainment is their thing and not to touch our thing. And then, this was funny. They go to throw to the old Day footage, and right as they throw to it, I'm instantly thinking it would be so funny if this was a tease. And it was. They didn't throw to it. They said they burned the footage and you'll never see the old Day footage again. And that Kofi went back and timed the segment, and I would have to double check this because this felt like it was 8 times this length, but he said it was 5 minutes and 37 seconds.
I could have watched the CM Punk match 2 times.
Yeah, you could get easily 2 watches in there. They go over all the things you could have done in that time span, including listening to a song on the Hamilton soundtrack, while also looking up Baltimore Ravens highlights, which led to boos from the crowd.
Oh, okay. What's the deal there?
Well, Kofi said that I guess there's some Redskin fans here, and they also booed that. So there was no playing to any home teams here in Baltimore. They apologized for wasting their time last week, and then Anderson and Gallows come out, call the Baltimore fans stupid, and Gallows says they will beat them unconscious with their unicorn horns. So the match we got was announced as a rematch from SummerSlam. It's Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods against Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, effectively saying the real effective New Day unit will be waiting for you at the pay-per-view because Big E is not part of this.
Okay.
I thought this was a pretty lengthy match. We got Graves stating that Anderson and Gallows are not out to make you laugh and smile. They are a smash mouth team, which given the last month of angles, I think that's exactly what their MO has been.
Smash Mouth. Like the band?
No, I was talking about trying to make you laugh and smile, but yes.
Corny.
Yes.
What you mean.
Anderson attacks Kingston on the floor. Cole notes that Carl Anderson had the longest reign and most defenses in IWGP history, also calling him a 3-time G1 champion, which is quite the liberal use of these terms. He did have the longest tag title reign with Giant Bernard, and they did win a G1 Tag League tournament and then won the World Tag League. But the way he stated this, that he was a 3-time G1 champion, I mean, the guy never won the singles tournament, and this just was quite the condensing of records, which I'm only pointing this out because I know Michael Cole didn't know a goddamn thing he was reciting.
Oh, he saw it on Wikipedia probably and saw,
No, because if you go to Wikipedia, it's got it correctly. And he just, instead of saying, anyway, who cares?
G1 Tag League champion, World Tag League champion.
It would be like stated,
yeah, I know.
Anyway, they have the advantage on Kofi forever. He finally makes the hot tag to Woods, who comes in. He fights with both guys. He scaled the top rope and hit a splash as Gallows saved. super kicked the knee of Gallows. Kofi was sent to the floor, and they ended up hitting him with a bicycle kick and the Magic Killer. Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows win. This was their second win as a tag team on Raw since the brand split. Your number one contenders. Their other win was a month ago against Goldust and R-Truth.
I feel like I'm kind of done with this feud, after the whole testicle thing and what was the second thing? The old fart thing, which they dropped. That's gone now, the old fart deal.
Yes, last week's got over like a fart in church.
Yeah, I'm kind of done with these five together. This match certainly didn't make me all that interested to see another match of theirs at the pay-per-view. It was fine, but these matches have not been good enough to make me want to see it again. And I know that they're not really doing stipulation matches as much anymore, and that's cool. But I think for a feud like this, it's time to throw in some stipulations.
Hindsight being 2020, I think had you left Anderson and Gallows to go with Styles to SmackDown, they're the lead heel tag team on SmackDown, and the Usos were on Raw, and you flip them as heels to feud with New Day, I think that's a really good pairing. And I thought the Usos were excellent on Sunday and what they have done with this turn over the past week. But that is not the case. Maybe their contracts will come due as well on Raw. Tom Phillips interviews Roman Reigns, who is only thinking about winning the title at Clash of Champions, but he has to kick KO's ass. They plug the Cruiserweight finale on Wednesday, which Braden and Way will be reviewing, and it will be its own show on Wednesday. It's the brand split. It's the culmination of what's next in CWC. It's the breakup on Wednesday.
That's right. And that'll be up Wednesday night at liveaudiowrestling.com and on iTunes.
The season finale of CWC. Maybe series finale. Who knows if it'll ever come back.
Yeah.
Tune in this Sunday night to The Law, live audio wrestling at midnight Eastern Time with Jason Agnew and Dan the Mouth Labranski running through all of the news from the past week in professional wrestling. They will be joined by Dave Meltzer, and we will be speaking with a member of the Cruiserweight Classic. Who will it be? Find out Sunday night on The Law. Jinder Mahal came out next, and he was introduced as the man that comes in peace. And then, a sight that just floored me. He was handed a microphone, and he spoke. He said that while he was gone, he felt hate and rage towards everyone. I guess he was out hanging out with Alex Riley. And he learned to let all of that go, and he trekked in the Himalayas and in monasteries, and he found inner peace. And that peace is a way of life and not just a word. And he wants to share that peace with the WWE Universe. And he gets interrupted by Jack Swagger, and they decide that they're going to fight.
Yeah.
All I can say about this match is it went 3 minutes and 18 seconds. He got his feet up for a Swagger bomb and hit a neck breaker, and Jinder Mahal won a match over Jack Swagger in a battle of who is at the bottom of the depth chart on Raw.
I thought for sure they were going to give America the win. I thought this would be like their little kind of 9/11, reference to give. I don't know, but they had the Jinder Mahal win, and I don't know where this is leading. I guess the next segment is, yeah.
He preaches peace. Yep. What a character. Tom Phillips interviews Swagger backstage and says, Jack, it's no secret that your Raw contract is expiring soon.
Secret to me.
It was probably a secret to Jack Swagger up until he arrived today. And he just breathes heavily and he walks off.
Yeah, so what does this mean?
Well, maybe he's going to get cut, and then is he going to get signed by SmackDown? Why would they sign this guy? He's a loser.
Yeah.
He's being cut. The drama is his contract going to be renewed.
Do you know the status of his actual contract?
No, I don't.
Could you see this being an actual write-off of a character?
Oh, where his contract's just up and he's let go? Yeah, always possible. I mean, he would be one of those when you get one of those Friday dumps of talent. If his name was put in there, I don't think it would surprise a person, which is amazing when you go back at the upside he showcased in 2009.
Him showing up on SmackDown would not make a difference at all. So I don't even know why they would tease something like this.
Then in our just desire to run as many people off in the third hour as possible, we then got a singles match with Enzo and Epico. Enzo comes out calling himself Eskimo Zoe, who's not sweating Epico. And he's going to give him a dirt nap so that he will soil himself and plant those hibiscus flowers that he likes and ask him, how you doing? I think Enzo has realized the pressure of these big promos, and he's kind of got to peak them for like pay-per-views and like week to week. It's like, just give him a little.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a 10 on these promos because there's only so much A-list material that you can come up with.
Yeah.
So we got a match here with Enzo, and Epico hit a back suplex to Enzo and then a German suplex and then a big delayed vertical, getting a 2 count from that. Enzo came back with strikes, a spinning DDT, and then he climbed up to the top when Primo got on the apron to distract him. Cass took him out with a big boot, and then Epico hit a suicide dive to Cass. Enzo then hit a crossbody to Epico on the floor. Enzo goes for a suplex into the ring, and they did the old Ultimate Warrior, Rick Rude, Bobby Heenan finish from WrestleMania 5 with Primo pulling out the leg of Enzo, holding it down, and Epico pins Enzo in 3:18.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think this is logical, good booking to lead up to another match with these guys. They're giving Primo and Epico some wins, but it really could be any other team here. I really don't feel like Primo and Epico have shown me anything aside from their competence in ring to make me, all that confident that they're deserving of this position.
If ever you wanted to tell your audience, go check out the score of the football game. It was a singles match with Jinder Mahal followed by a singles match with Epico. Kevin Owens walks into Seth Rollins backstage, and Rollins says he wants Owens to win tonight so that they have a singles match. And he calls Triple H a coward for not showing up, which, there was no step forward in that story on this show at all.
No.
Last week, I really didn't have any issue with not paying off with a Hunter explanation. I thought they did enough in that opening segment last week that at least led you to believe is Stephanie working with him. There was nothing on this show, and perhaps Stephanie legitimately wasn't there, but it just felt like it was almost forgotten on this show.
I would say last week, I'm with you, I wasn't disappointed by that opening segment, but I was left wondering what Triple H's what Rollins' feelings towards Triple H were, and I don't think we got enough exposition on that. This week we didn't get it again either. We just kind of, again, got the explanation that Hunter hasn't been showing up. But I feel like to leave your audience 2-3 weeks with that, it really cools down that feud, in my opinion.
He goes on. Rollins does that laugh of his, and Owens says it's very annoying. He says he figured he'd want Reigns in the match to do all the hard work, and then Rollins can take the glory, just like when they were in the Shield. And he goes off on all the people that helped Rollins along the way, like Ambrose, Reigns, Kane, the J&J security, and of course, Triple H, who finally learned there was someone better than Rollins, and says that since he's come back from his injury, he's lost the title to Ambrose, letting down Raw. He lost to Finn Balor, who had one arm, and says all you've done is fail. And Foley comes in and stops this verbal assault by Kevin Owens and just breaks it up and sends Owens to the ring. Foley tells Rollins not to interfere because there will be consequences.
First, I want to say I think Foley has been really great these past couple weeks. He's just really embraced that authority figure role, and he's tapped into, once again, his promo style, which was so captivating, even dating back to his ECW days of just being able to scream. And it wasn't, in TNA for a time, what he was kind of doing the screaming thing, it was just kind of uncontrolled, and it just felt like screaming for the sake of screaming. But I think now he's kind of really honed in on sounding authoritative and sounding pissed off when he needs to and sounding good doing it. So I've been really impressed with him these past couple of weeks. But again, in this segment, I felt like Rollins was again positioned as the heel, with Kevin Owens making a bunch of great points here against legitimate great points that made you say, yeah, you know what, he's right. And I find myself siding with Kevin Owens here and everything that he's saying. And Rollins comes in looking like the embarrassed heel who's just cowering away because he had all these great points made against him. And how is this a good follow-up for, the guy who's supposed to be wronged and out for revenge? I really didn't understand this segment.
They had this network spot all built around The Rock and how you can get over 400 matches and every eyebrow. And there's only one place to see all of this, and it's on the WWE Network. 400 matches with The Rock, for the next time you have a month-long vacation. Just watch everything. For more of Wei Ting and myself, you can catch Review of SmackDown each and every Wednesday morning. Simply go to liveaudiowrestling.com or subscribe for free to Live Audio Wrestling on iTunes. Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns was our main event. This was a non-title match, and Cole explained it's a non-title match, but we are still using the hashtag WWE Universal title because it has implications on the title at Clash of Champions. Just want to get that out there for our hashtag classification. They fought on the floor. Each goes into the barricade, and Owens gets control back into the ring. He's applying this rear chin lock, and there's all these boos for Reigns as he starts fighting back. He calls for the Superman punch, and Owens just rolls to the floor, and Reigns jumps off the steps into a kick as they go to a first commercial break. We come back. Owens has the rear chin lock applied again, and Owens is yelling at him, "You do suck. You do suck," as the crowd is chanting at Roman. Owens sends him into the post shoulder first, and we would work on the shoulder throughout the match. Rollins then runs down, and he attacks Owens from behind, and Owens is declared the winner by disqualification as the officials are coming down, and Foley is out, and he yells at Rollins like a father scolding a child and states that they are going to have a talk. And Rollins is sent to the back into the timeout zone, and Foley restarts the match, and Owens sends Reigns back into the steps. Reigns comes back. He hits him with a number of clotheslines in the corner. And then Owens is seated on the top, and Reigns goes for a superplex, which is stopped, and Owens hits a fisherman buster off the turnbuckle, getting a 2 count, follows that with a frog splash, and this is where they went into a lot of near falls that the crowd was super hot for. Owens did the Reigns pose, calling for the spear, and then missed with a cannonball. And Graves says that mocking was the 1 second that Reigns needed to get out of the way, and that Owens cost himself. He sets up for the spear and runs into a knee from Kevin Owens, responds with a Superman punch on his feet, getting a 2 count. This crowd was just loving this match. There was a drive-by on the floor. Owens comes back in the ring with a pair of super kicks and hits 2 cannonballs. And then Reigns avoids the pop-up powerbomb when Rusev runs down in his gear, jumps onto the apron, and he takes a Superman punch from Reigns, and this allows Owens to hit the pop-up powerbomb and pin Roman Reigns. Shocking here, a champion winning a non-title match. And then afterwards, it was Rusev beating down Reigns, applying the accolade, and leaving Reigns laying to end the show. I thought a great main event.
Really, really good main event, and a deafening crowd here towards the end of the show. I had issue with the Seth Rollins interaction in the match. First of all, he came out, was ineffective, and I guess the feeling they're trying to make you feel is that you should be cheering for him because he's so angry. What Kevin Owens said, he had to come out and ruin the match, but he just came across like a guy who was ruining a perfectly good match to me, and I'm really disappointed in his positioning as a babyface on this show.
Yeah, if anything, I think this audience, they more or less look at it as, Triple H has allowed Kevin Owens to become the champion, which is something fresh. They like it, and I feel that that's going to be, Owens is going to, he is very effective at being able to remain a heel, but this guy is just so entertaining.
Yeah, I don't know if he's that effective. He's effective in doing heel things, but because he's so good at it, he's going to get audiences like tonight's cheering for him, especially placed against guys like Roman Reigns.
So it looks like your matches at Clash of Champions will be Owens and Rollins in a singles match, Reigns and Rusev, then Charlotte and Sasha, and the New Day against Anderson and Gallows, along with Jericho and Sami Zayn is what we've got.
How many weeks are we away?
1. We just have Raw next week.
Jeez.
Yeah. But that takes care of most of the major figures on Raw. Sheamus and Cesaro will get added. You'll probably get Enzo and Cass against the Shining Stars. And then Titus O'Neil and Darren Young. Yeah. There's your pay-per-view. Clash of Champions. Get ready. So overall, I thought a good edition of Raw. I thought the main event was pretty solid.
I thought the main event was really good.
And the highlight reel. Those were the two
Highlight reel
highlights.
was good. I can't say there was all that much. And again, like because this is a 3-hour show, I feel like I'm going to be a bit more harsh on this than other shows. There's a lot of filler here and a lot of stuff that I didn't think was all that great.
That third hour started off, that first half hour.
Oh man, that Bo Dallas thing. What else we got? Jinder Mahal, Epico, Primo. Even that. What is this? Even this Nia Jax, Alicia Fox thing. I'm not that hot on this episode of Raw.
Well, I think people are going to be very hot on the 7th anniversary of Review Away, which drops this Friday. And what are we going to be watching live?
A legendary show in the history of poor professional wrestling pay-per-views, and that is, of course, Heroes of Wrestling, which, you can find through various sources, but we will be looking it up on YouTube. And you can watch along with us when we release our video review featuring live commentary this Friday.
Yes. So, Review of SmackDown is out Wednesday. Review Away, the live viewing of Heroes of Wrestling, comes out Friday. All of that can be found at liveaudiowrestling.com and youtube.com/liveaudiowrestling. For Wei Ting, I am John Pollock, and thanks for watching Review of Raw.